Hi, this is James, and in this video I'm going to be sharing one of the ways that I personally work with the Kipper deck, so stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in and joining me for this video. This video was inspired by one of my viewers who recently contacted me asking me if I would be willing to share how I personally work with the Kipper cards. And specifically, this person wanted some basic spreads that they could try out on their own. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing a spread that's known as the line of sight spread. The deck that's going to be assisting me for this video is one of my personal favorite Kipper decks, and that is the Roaring Twenties Kipper. It is by Lynn Boyle, and as always, I will be leaving links in the description box below so you can learn more about the deck, and if you fancy it, how you can acquire it and add it to your collection. So now that I've set things up, let's now move to the next segment, closer to the table, and I'll show you how we do a line of sight reading with Kipper cards. And here we are with the deck on the table, and so we're going to be doing some examples of a line of sight reading. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to, before you shuffle the cards and deal them out, you want to take your deck and you want to take a moment to look for either one of two cards. You're going to look for either the man card or the woman card. So these are going to be the two cards, and the reason being that you're going to be looking for those is that they're going to be removed from the deck before you do your reading. So in this first example, let's just use myself. So I'm going to take the man because the man's going to represent a male seeker or querent, right? So he's going to represent me, so I'm going to put him to one side. And when I work with a line of sight spread, some of the questions I ask, because I usually do it for a daily draw for my day, so I usually ask like, what am I going to be facing today? What do I have to look forward to today? Something of that nature, because I'm putting the sight of the man in the question, right? So, and I'll talk more about that with how I lay them out. But after you take your card out and you have formed your question, then you want to shuffle the rest of the deck, which is what I'm doing now. And you can shuffle the cards any way that works for you. I'm going to do some of my other ways. All right, I'm feeling one more time will be good. All right. And then what I usually do is, since it's for me, I'm going to cut the cards towards me somewhat, because that's what I would do for my own practice. All right, then I usually fan them out. And when you're doing a line of sight spread, you can do anywhere between 3 and 5 cards. So I usually do 3 because I'm a fan of less being more. So I'm looking for 3 cards in the fan. I see this one. This is card 2. And I'm looking for the third and final card. I might as well just go with this one here. So I have my 3 cards. So I'm going to take the rest of the deck and put it to one side. All right, and then I'm going to count my cards back. 3, 2, 1. And this is important. So now after you have your cards, then you want to take your significator card, the card that represents you, and you want to put that to one side of the line depending on which way the card is facing. So now, in this particular case, he's looking to the left, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the cards out from right to left, because his line of sight is going this way, right? So card 1 will be the closest to him, then card 2, and then card 3. That's how you want to lay the cards out. Now if it was the woman card in the deck, the woman is looking to the right. So it would be card 1 would go here, card 2, and then card 3. You want to place the cards in accordance to the direction. That's why we call it the line of sight. Right, and I'm just going to take a moment to slide these over. All right. And then you just read the cards in accordance to the direction. So this is card 1. So then if I'm going with the idea of like, what do I have to look forward to today? Or what's going to be facing me today? Or what's going to be coming up for me today? Here we have high honors. Okay, so this card is a card of recognition. So this would be saying like maybe early on in my day, or maybe, you know, closest to me, because I'm reading about proximity. So there's something about some sort of recognition. For me, this card can represent recognition. So this could be recognition, praise, something of that nature. It's also a career card for me in this deck. So there may be something having to do with my career that is going to be like the basis for the recognition, right? But either way, this could be recognition or something having to do with one's career, right? So I would go with the way that my day goes. It might be some form of recognition. I would go with that, right? So then let's look at the card next to it. Then here we have, oh, isn't this interesting? Okay, so then here we have the woman card, right? So now here we have recognition between me and a woman, right? And it would be a woman who's on the same level as me. So this could be a peer. This could be some kind of colleague. If I go with the idea that high honors can represent something having to do with career, then this would be maybe somebody who maybe is in the same career as me, somebody who does a similar kind of work, you know, because I'm looking at this as somebody who is on the same level of me. So this would be like a colleague or a peer, possibly, right? It could also be, too, just simply put, that I'm going to receive some kind of recognition, high honors, from a woman, right? And it would be a woman who's significant to me, right? And then the last card would be, oh, look at this. I like this. So here we have great happiness. And now great happiness is the best card in the deck. So it usually represents good fortune, good luck, you know, blessings, abundance, all those wonderful things. So whatever this is, it could suggest that there's going to be a great deal of recognition from a woman, and as a result of that, I'm going to be in a place of great happiness. So that was a very nice line to start off with. But that's how you read the line of sight. You want to read it. The biggest thing to remember is that you're reading it in accordance to the sight of the significator card, right? And so now let's do another one, and this time we'll use the woman. So I'll take her out. All right, and so now we're back for our next example, and we have the woman card, because I said I was going to leave it out, and the rest of the deck. So now I'm going to take a moment to put the woman aside, and now we're going to shuffle the cards. And so now let's say that we have a woman, and she's doing the same thing. She wants to know what is coming up for her in her day. She wants to know, what will I be facing today? What do I have to look forward to today? All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck. So now in this particular case, because I am not the woman, I'm going to cut the cards away from me, which is what I usually do when I'm reading for someone else. All right, so let's fan the cards out. And now again, we're going to do this with 3 cards from the fan. So I'm looking. Okay, this one got my attention first. That's card 1, and then I'm looking at this one for card 2. Okay, now we're looking for card 3. And I'll just go with this one. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3. So we have 3 cards. I'm going to take up the rest of the deck. Here are my 3 cards. Counting back, 3, 2, 1. So now here we have the woman, and we'll place her here. And what we're going to do is we're going to line up the cards in accordance to her sight, right? So card 1 is going to be the closest to her. Then card 2. And then card 3. All right. So now let's take a look at what's closest to her. So the first thing is, oh, you can't make this stuff up. Look at this. So here we have high honors again. So there are cards sometimes when I do these types of videos that always want to be seen. So it looks like we have a tie here between the woman and high honors, right? So high honors again would represent she's going to be on the receiving end of some recognition because she's facing that, right? So again, this could also be something having to do with her career, because this is the career card for me. So here we have some maybe the possibility of career recognition. And with that in mind, sometimes it can represent a promotion, like receiving some kind of promotion. But the first thing going with just these two cards, I would say that she's going to be on the receiving end of some kind of recognition. All right, so now let's take a look at the card in the middle. And so here we have unexpected reward. So unexpected reward is a card that can represent a surprise or some kind of bonus, right? It usually represents money because of the change in the palms of the hand on the card. So it usually represents money, but it usually implies money that someone didn't work for. So I would see this, if we go with high honors possibly being about career and recognition, she may receive some kind of bonus that comes as a surprise. And this could be, because I talked about promotion, so this could be a raise, right? If we go with the idea this is about career and recognition, then this could be the possibility of a raise, right? So I'm seeing that with high honors and unexpected reward. So now let's see what this last card is. Okay, so now here we have a change in scene, because now we have gloom and doubt. So this in traditional Kipper cartomancy is known as gloomy or murky thoughts, right? So this card would suggest something of the lines of like something that's on one's mind. I liken it to clouds in Lenormand. So this is about confusion, uncertainty, some kind of doubt, right? So now, if this changes the meaning of the cards, maybe it's suggesting like she's looking forward to some kind of raise or bonus through work, achievement, but that's in doubt, right? She's not certain that she's going to get it. She would like to get it, but because of this card, there's some sort of doubt or uncertainty about that. And then I would offer, if we're looking at the cards, gloom and doubt is a very interesting card here because it's known as a cause and effect card, right? So it's saying the gloom and doubt, the source behind the gloom and doubt are these cards because it's behind it, right? And then if you wanted to, you could pull another card to see how the gloom and doubt is going to play itself out, or, what kind of effect is it going to have on the situation or on her, right? And you place a card here and that would explain it. But as a 3 card here, the way I would read it is that the woman is looking forward to some sort of recognition, maybe having to do with her career. This card would make me feel it would be something that she didn't necessarily work for. So that could be a raise or a bonus, something of that nature. But with that, there is some uncertainty or some doubt as to whether or not she will actually receive this. So that is how I would look at this particular set of cards. So now let's do this again, only we'll frame maybe a more specific question. All right, and this time we're going to do a line of sight reading, only we're going to ask a specific question. So let's say, because I have the man card out, let's say we're doing a reading for a man, or he's reading the cards for himself, and he wants to know about his business. He's self-employed. And so let's just say that he's going through maybe a down patch or a down cycle in his business. Business is a little slow. So he's asking the question, will business pick up? Will his business improve, right? Will he get more business to work on or people to work with, right? So that's the question. So we're going to take the man card and move it aside. So now we have the question in mind. And actually, because high honor showed up twice, that's where I got the question from. So now let's just shuffle the cards with that question in mind. Our gentleman here is asking or wanting to know what he can look forward to with his business in terms of it improving, in terms of business picking up. a feeling one more time will be good. All right. So now let's cut the cards again, because this is not me specifically. I'm going to cut it away from me. And now we're looking for 3 cards in the fan that are getting my attention. We have 1, 2, and I like this one, 3. So those are the 3 cards. Take the rest of the deck up. Three, two, one. Okay. So now we bring the man back in. We're going to lay the cards from right to left because, again, line of sight. Okay, so now let's remember the context. The context is our gentleman here. He wants to know if his business is going to pick up, if it's going to improve, right? So that's the question. What can he look forward to with that? So now the first card. Here we have partnership. So this is known as the marriage card or state of marriage. What I love about this particular deck is that there were a few partnership cards in the deck. So there was one with 2 men, one with 2 women, and then one with a man and a woman. So I like that because diversity. And so for me personally, I liked the partnership with the 2 men, so I kept that in the deck. So here we have, in the business sense, he can look forward to working with somebody or maybe even forming a partnership. Because partnership, besides about a marriage, can represent a commitment or a union or 2 people coming together. So maybe in terms of his business picking up would be to incorporate or to bring in somebody else and to form a partnership. Again, playing on the idea that he is self-employed, right? So it could just be he's a business of 1, and the cards are suggesting, would you be willing to consider making it a business of 2? Now, the other thing here could be about maybe being committed to the business, right? If he wants business to pick up, then this card would be saying, you know, would you be willing to commit maybe more to it, right? This card could also be about contracts. So maybe there's not necessarily incorporating somebody into the business in terms of actual partnership, but maybe, you know, doing some sort of contractual work, you know, partnering up with somebody else, not necessarily bringing a partner in, right? So there's a couple of ways of looking at that, right? But this card, again, is about some kind of commitment, a partnership, or something of a contractual nature, right? Because marriages are legally binding contracts, right? Okay, so now let's move on to the middle card. And here we have advisor. Okay, so this would be, for me, this card can represent going through some kind of process, something that's necessary, right? And this card can represent somebody who's taking on the role of an advisor, right? So it could suggest that he might want to commit to getting some advice about a process or a procedure from an actual advisor. Now, the interesting thing to note about these 2 cards in relation to this card is that these cards are what we call connecting cards because there's 2 figures on each card. So partnership is actually connecting the man and advisor, right? So it could be saying too, like he needs to form a partnership, or there's going to be some kind of connection to somebody who is in a position to offer some advice or to facilitate some kind of process that would be necessary for his business to pick up or improve, right? So that is advisor. And it could also be saying too, like he's the one who's playing the role of the advisor, with this being the connecting card. Maybe in his business, he's an advisor or some kind of consultant, right? But given the context of the question, it would make me feel like the cards are asking him to consider forming some kind of partnership, or there's a connection between him and some kind of advice or some kind of process, necessary process for his business to improve. So now let's take a look at the card on the other side of advisor, because advisor is connecting partnership to whatever this card is. And here we have, oh, I love this at the end. Here we have good news. So good news, especially with the fact that there are no challenging cards here. Good news is a positive card. It represents communication of all kinds, right? So this could be communication in person. This could be communication by phone. This could be texts, emails, all sorts of communications, right? But the gist of it is that whatever the message is that he's going to be receiving now, again, line of sight, this is what's coming towards him, right? So he's on the receiving end of good news. So this is a great card to end this reading on, because it would suggest that whatever this process is that he's going to embark on through this connection to an advisor or this partnership, is that in the end, it will be beneficial to his business, because the card itself is good news. Right? Now, good news can also represent paperwork and documents and documentation. So if we go with the idea that advisor is talking about some process that's necessary for his business to improve, then this could suggest that there may be some paperwork or documentation that's connected to that. Remember, advisor is a connector card. Right? And then if we go with what I first said about partnership, if this is about incorporating somebody else into the business, then this may be the process of formalizing that partnership. Right? But in the end, this is good news, that his business will improve. It will pick up. So that is how I would read that line. So now let's do one more, and we'll switch them out. We'll switch out the woman for the man, and we'll do another line using a specific question in mind. And here we are for our final read, our final line of sight reading for this video. And I've taken the liberty of taking the woman card out and putting that aside. Here's the rest of the deck. So while I was doing that, I was thinking of a possible scenario. So this is what came to mind. So let's say that we have a woman, and she has just gotten out of a challenging relationship, and she wants to know about entering into a new relationship. Now, she hasn't met anybody yet. She hasn't been dating or anything like that. She's just asking the question, what can she look forward to in terms of meeting someone new? That's the question, right? Okay, so now let's move her aside, and we take the rest of the deck up. We're going to shuffle the cards. Again, so we're looking for information about what this woman could be looking forward to when it comes to her love life, romance, matters of the heart, right? She just ended a relationship. She wants to know when the next one is going to come, or if one is going to come. All right, so now let's go ahead and cut the cards again. All right, let's fan the cards out. All right, so we're looking for 3. So like this one. And looking for card 2, this one. Ooh, and card 3. So those are the 3 cards. I'm going to take the rest of the deck up. Count back. 3, 2, 1. Okay, now we're going to bring the woman card back in. All right. And so now again, we're laying out the cards in accordance to direction, line of sight. So this is card 1, closest to her, 2, and 3. Okay, so now remember the context. The context is our woman here has just ended a relationship, one that was very challenging for her, and she wants to know about the idea or the possibility of when she might get involved again. So first card. Okay, so the first card is a long way. So this card usually is called 1 year's patience. So it usually represents at least a year, but it could just represent having a long way to go. Now remember, this is something she's looking forward to or looking towards, right? So this is a long road. So it's saying she's got a long road to go, or there's going to be a long, it's going to be a long time, because I read this as time and distance. This is a time and distance card, right? So this could just represent it's a long road to go, or it's a long time off, that kind of thing. right? And it would be offering to, in terms of advice, is that maybe she just needs to be patient, right? Especially if she just ended a relationship, right? So this card would be saying too, like, she needs to be patient because it may take some time. So now let's take a look at the card next to it. And here we have great happiness. Oh, but this is great. Again, great happiness is the best card in the deck. So it could suggest that even though there may be some time, or that it's going to take some time, or that she's got some road to travel, or, you know, that's metaphorically speaking, on the other side of that is great happiness. And the thing about great happiness is that even if there were challenging cards here, great happiness tends to kind of overshadow those cards in a good way, kind of outshine those cards, right? So I'm looking at the symbology here on the card, which is not necessarily a Kipper technique, but the fact that the woman on the card, which is Fortuna, is holding a cup. It reminds me of the Ace of Cups from Tarot, and especially with the cup overflowing, right? So the Ace of Cups in Tarot usually represents a new love, new relationship, something that's overflowing, you know, that kind of thing. So this is very positive. But, you know, getting here is going to take some time, right? Because of a long way coming before this card. So now let's see what's on the other side of great happiness. And here we have advisor again. So very interesting. So now advisor again is a connecting card, but it would represent that she's going to have to go through some kind of process, right? And it could suggest too that she may have somebody who wants to give her some advice. She may be on the receiving end of some advice that might help her, right? Especially if she's here, right? So if she's in this space where it's going to be a long road, you know, she's got to be patient. You know, she may need to get some advice to help her through that. You know, and then great happiness would be somebody who has her best interest at heart. Right, and so again, because there are two people here on this card, this would be a connecting card. So the advisor is connected to the great happiness. Right, so you know, what's coming to me in the moment is that advisor could be like somebody who's like a matchmaker. You know, somebody who deals with getting people together. So I'm just curious. I'm going to, because this is a connecting card, I didn't do it the first time when we had this as an example, but I'm going to do it now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, hopefully I'll do this right, and pull back. Yay, I did it right. Okay, so I pulled back, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide the cards over, and we're going to pick one more card to go on the other side of advisor. Right, and I'm going to pull back just a little bit. Okay. All right, so now we're going to shuffle the cards one more time, I should say, and we're going to see what's on the other side of advisor, because advisor is a connecting card. All right, one more time, I'm going to cut the cards away from me. I'm going to fan them out. And I'm just going to pick one. This one jumped right out. So put that next to advisor. And I'll take the rest of the cards up. And as I was doing that, what came to me in the moment too is that if advisor is talking about a process that our lady friend might have to go through, then it could just be a matter of she may have to go through a process that's connected to becoming happy, right? If she's in this space, she may not be so happy, right? Because a long way leads to this. So it could just say it's going to be a long road to becoming happy. She may need help with that. And that would make sense given the context that if she just ended a challenging relationship, she may not be in a space to immediately get into a new one, right? She may need some help or assistance with that. So let's see what's on the other side of advisor. Ah, yeah, okay. So now, here we have living room. And so living room is a card that can represent privacy. It could represent intimacy because of the close quarters in the living room itself. So for me, this is a good card because it would say there's a connection, advisor, between happiness and intimacy, right? Now, one possibility is if she asked when this could happen, living room offers for me a time period of 24 hours. That would be the soonest, and 4 weeks would be the latest. So here we have something having to do with up to a month in time, right? So it could be saying too, like, if she may circumvent a long way with some help, advisor, right? Because there's a connection between her happiness, her sense of happiness, and intimacy, right? Now another thing could be happening here, as I talked about that, this card could represent, being alone, because this card can represent intimacy, close quarters. So this could just be privacy, personal space, being by yourself, that kind of thing, right? So it could just say, like, maybe there's a connection between her happiness and her sense of being happy, being on her own, or having her own space. If I allow myself to say that the connecting card advisor connects these two cards. Right, but it's very interesting in terms of time when we have something that's a long way off and then something that may be closer in terms of when something might actually happen. Now, it could also be saying too, like, as I'm talking about this out loud, that there may be some patience, but getting the advisor may happen sooner. Whoever this advisor is to help her, that may be happening sooner rather than later. So that is how I would look at the line. And on that note, I'll go ahead and wrap up this viewer requested video on how I personally work with Kipper cards. And this has been the line of sight readings. I hope that this has been helpful. I hope it has been informative. And I will be back with another video using Kipper cards in a different way down the line. So I hope that you stay tuned for that. But until then, I'm hoping that you have a wonderful day. Take care.